From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, a legacy of farming.
This is not your land. You can have title to this land. It's not yours. You're simply the caretaker.
Of working and protecting the soil.
It just is an excellent profile.
And the water in big ways and in small.
It's every day trying to do a continuous improvement. What can we do better today than what we did yesterday?
Today, some of the best in the business show you how they maintain high yields and a safe bottom line while keeping a close eye on the environment and long-term sustainability as part of America's conservation ag movement.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Happy New Year. We want to start the new year off by talking about a hot topic in farming right now, conservation. There are many farmers who are finding new ways to conserve water, land, and the environment by just making a few simple changes. And we've been profiling some of the best in the business in a series of special reports called America's Conservation Ag Movement. Well, this morning, they share their secrets of conservation success with you. We began with a Kansas rancher who's shaping her land and the conversation around conservation agriculture. Take a trip across the wind-whipped plains of central Kansas, and you'll find the Blythe Family Farm just outside White City.
We are a diversified farm and ranch, and that we have a few crops that we mostly feed our cattle, but also we have about 250 mama cows.
The family operation has been a fixture of this tall grass prairie since settling here back in 1890.
I will tell you that I really am nobody special. I am a typical rancher in Kansas.
And yet Debbie Lyons Blythe has been anything but typical when it comes to speaking out about the future of the beef industry.
Sustainability really has gotten a bad rap, in my opinion, and that word is really not liked a lot by cattle ranchers and farmers, as well as consumers, frankly.
But to her, it's the work her family has always done. Rotational grazing, maintaining water quality, protecting the native prairie and wildlife.
We've always been interested in doing a better job, being more efficient, caring for the land in a better way. So when the conversation was happening about sustainability and very top down from the retailer back down the production line, I pointed out that you can't measure it the same in every state. Well, I got kicked off the conference calls back then.
Which is why she agreed to be part of the U.S. Roundtable for Sustainable Beef. Rather than top down, the membership includes all stakeholders, from ranchers like Lyons Blythe to retailers, feed yards, packers, auctions, including grocery stores and food companies.
We all have an equal say. To me, that's really valuable.
Like those Kansas pond banks after a rain, the very first step was a muddy one.
It took us about 2 years to actually define sustainability.
And while the final written version has lots of big words, Debbie says it like this.
Take care of the land, take care of the animals, take care of the people who live and work on the land, and make money.
That concept was then broken down further. Each indicator, 6 in total, need real measurable metrics for every link in the value chain.
So when we talk about water quality, one of the questions that we ask is, for a farm, do you have a grazing management plan? If you have a grazing management plan, then you are paying attention to your water. But then go to the absolute opposite end of the beef value chain. At a retail level, we talk about how they manage water as well. Do you have a leaky toilet? Do you have a bad water line?
Creating a definition and now data.
Farmers and ranchers are the original environmentalists, but I can't just say that. I have to prove it. So we need data. We need to be able to prove what we're doing is right.
Helping this family legacy and others like it continue down a sustainable path.
So to me, sustainability really shouldn't be a bad word.
Still ahead, we go digging for conservation answers in the soil of one Ohio farm and meet a farmer who believes he's created the perfect profile next as our Ag Day special on America's Conservation Ag Movement continues. To till or not to till, the debate can open a whole can of worms in farm country, but one farmer says the proof of what he's doing is in his soil. We head to Sulphur Springs, Ohio to get a closer look.
This ground is hard. You can tell it hasn't rained in a while.
With shovel in hand,
It just is an excellent profile.
Sulphur Springs, Ohio farmer Nathan Browsey is taking stock of his soil.
And then the earthworms, I did see one there, but the ground is pretty dry. I think they've kind of gone down a little bit.
Creating the perfect profile.
Look at that. It just falls apart. We haven't had any rain here.
Has become a passion for this row crop farmer.
I'm 47 right now, and this is my 31st season of farming on my own.
He's carried on the conservation tradition from his grandfather and father, both of whom began no-till or ridge-till work before it was popular.
I kind of thought they were kind of crazy, and the more I did this, the farther I go down this path, the more I realized that what they were trying to do was conserve soil.
Today, he's holding on to that legacy, implementing a multitude of modern conservation methods.
This mix that we planted, this is part of that 17-way blend, so there's actually 17 different kinds of covers in this. I feel that the diversification of the cover crop is key because every one of those has an attribute that comes with it that will help your soil.
But that doesn't happen without a plan. To accomplish his goals, Browsey has gone back to a 3-crop rotation: corn, soybeans, and wheat, where corn is followed by rye or barley, soybeans are no-tilled in the next spring, and that is followed by wheat. Wheat is then covered in a diversified mix of cover crops ahead of corn.
So your ground is covered all the time, and at the same time we're only putting 2/3 the farm to a cover crop instead of planting 100% of it to a cover crop just to grow a corn-soybean rotation and still not have 100% success.
Planting corn into a green cover crop, Browsey will tell you, is a challenge, but it's worth it.
The corn, it gets planted into a big cover crop in the spring that big enough that you'd have to roll it or do something to get it down so you could plant it. I can just about write you a check and say, here, go cash this in November because that's going to be the best yielding corn I got.
And they've pulled acres out of production to make room for infield waterways. Proof? He can see in the runoff after big rain events. His water is clear, less than a mile away.
It's always brown. When I sit here in the middle of these two waterways and I can see the difference, I know what's getting put into Lake Erie. And I can say, hey, we are not contributing to this, and that stuff is staying on our farm, and that's where it needs to stay.
And that's what he's hoping to do, to see he and his family stay on this farm, not just for another season, but for generations into the future.
I've always thought long term if I could. It's really hard to do that because, you still got to pay today's bill.
A bill he's certain to afford, thanks to years of banking on his soil. All right, coming up, little changes that can make a big difference to your bottom line. One producer shares their secrets for increasing pig productivity and protecting the environment at the same time. Next. Continuing our special report on America's Conservation Ag Movement, new EPA research into hog facilities shows over the past decade, the amount of manure and air emissions per animal are down 18%. Now, many of those gains are thanks to feed efficiency, helped by improved feed formulations, genetics, and management. And as one South Dakota producer shows us, it doesn't take big adjustments or big investments to make a big difference. AgDay's national reporter Betsy Gibbon reports from Mitchell, South Dakota.
Doesn't she walk it?
A small group walks where Greenway Pork sits near Mitchell, South Dakota.
It's all right. It's just soft. It's not muddy.
The reason it stands today isn't just due to longevity. It's little tweaks over time which go a long way.
I guess my feeling on both conservation and sustainability is it's a journey. I don't think we're ever going to get to the end.
But it begins with family and work family who have the same beliefs as owners Brad and Peggy Greenway.
Again, it's every day trying to do a continuous improvement. What can we do better today than what we did yesterday?
He has climate-controlled barns, a plus with the constant changing weather in South Dakota.
And it doesn't matter what the weather is outside, we know what it's going to be in this barn.
Sure, it may be common in modern barns.
When it gets to 74.5, the misters will start coming on.
But it's one adjustment to pig productivity, which helps the overall operation.
If you can keep everything right, the comfort of the pig goes a long ways into efficiencies and conservation of natural resources.
The Greenways also found a way to use water more efficiently. They made a change to their watering system after they found they were wasting this important resource.
Every gallon of water that's wasted into the pit costs us more money when we haul that manure out to put onto our field.
Again, a little change with a big impact.
We're talking 150,000 gallons difference between the two barns that we were saving just by doing a better job.
The Greenways invested in their own feed mill. It's a helpful way to be in control as the Greenways change the pig's diet multiple times.
So it's corn, bean meal, DDGs. Our micro ingredients are added here.
He'll call and say, hey, let's back that down and put more DDGs, dried distillers grains in their ration, or a little more corn because it's cheaper. We can make those changes on a day-to-day basis.
There's a machine which will grind up sub-mold too, so it doesn't impact the pigs.
You'll get corn that's maybe molded in somebody's bin, and so we add a mold inhibitor because that affects the pig's digestive.
Mold and wet grain, which could come from a wet field and late harvest, just like South Dakota faced this year. As Greenway Pork pays attention to detail, they also think about the next generation willing to take over.
It was really important to me to come back, to get back to the family farm for the family values, as well as what I believe all farmers, including us here, are doing to try to make the environment a better place.
As the family's farm and those treated like family.
Thanks for coming out and taking the time.
Each do their part to help the operation thrive and succeed. Reporting for AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
How do big farms handle conservation? We head to one of the largest vegetable farms in the country and take a tour of their operations to see how they're making America's conservation ag movement a reality. Next. Creating a sustainable farming system isn't a one-size-fits-all proposition. In Bakersfield, California, Griffiths Farms has created a production process that's helped build one of the largest vegetable farms in the country. Inch by inch, row by row, Griffiths Farms in Bakersfield, California is prepping for another successful harvest.
So we're trying to build a little bit of an edge here with this cultivator, and what'll happen, the sun will hit this edge and transfer the heat into the bed, and it helps speed the growth up a little bit.
This field of organic carrots takes Farm President Jeff Huckabee right back to his roots.
But I've been a carrot guy for 30 years. I love growing carrots.
And today, they're growing more than 40,000 acres of carrots a year.
Soil looks great. Got good moisture in it.
But it's not just carrots. Griffiths Farms produces more than 135 seasonal and year-round products shipped worldwide.
You look at how we farm today on the 48,000 acres, and we don't farm any differently than we did when we had 100 or 1,000 or 2,000 acres.
Behind their footprint is a dedication to conservation agriculture and organic production.
But we were in the right place at the right time. The big organic movement had just started, and we were able to produce high-quality products year-round, and that was huge for our success.
That success centered on building a farming system different from their conventional operation.
Organics, we've learned very quickly on that you cannot cut corners, you cannot not cover crop. You have to germ your weeds, you have to continue to build your soils with compost.
That includes unwavering rules around crop rotations.
Making sure that the rotations fit your soil, they fit the timing of the crop that you're in, but that they balance each other out. Each crop that we do has to benefit the next crop.
Carrots only grow in the same spot every third year, an effort to avoid disease and pests like nematodes. Then there are the weeds.
So we're going through right now and burning this.
Creative, chemistry-free burn down self-made compost, and strict row cultivation makes every weed a target.
We learned quickly how to suppress the weeds and how to rotate certain items that would benefit the next crop.
Grimway has also found other ways to incorporate conservation into the operation.
Here in California, the sun shines all the time.
They built a solar farm to help power their facilities, and they have plans to add to it. Conservation also means water, including strategically storing water to help balance seasons of excess with periods of drought. The pressure-sealed pipe, drip irrigation, pivot systems all work together to minimize the use and the loss of water.
Like I said, a beautiful stand, the soil's nice, a very clean field.
A system built for big yields.
You don't need to sit there and think that, well, I'm only going to get half the production.
At a farm built to supply in every market.
I think we've proven that you can get equal production on organics versus conventional if done right.
1 row, 1 inch, and 1 carrot at a time. Now, conservation isn't just for crops, it's important for dairy too. Coming up, what one dairy producer is doing to protect water since they're surrounded by it. Next. Water. It's one of our most precious resources on the farm, and one Wisconsin dairy farm is building on a legacy that balances high production with intense resource management, all in an effort to protect the waters around them.
So we've been milking at this one for 4 years now.
The milking facilities at Kinnard Farms in Casco, Wisconsin were built for the long haul.
And so probably 15 years ago we sat down as a family and said, okay, hey, where's the future of this thing going?
That conversation ended in an operation focused on comfortable cows.
I like seeing quiet, laying down, cows going about their own business.
And respecting the sustainable legacy his family started more than 70 years ago.
I think long ago our parents were really good at teaching us, this is not your land. You can have title to this land, it's not yours. You're simply the caretaker.
Tending 13,000 acres of crops and a barn full of cows in the thumb of Wisconsin, surrounded by water, has plenty of challenges.
Previous generations, half were fishermen, half were farmers. So we had a pretty early understanding that, hey, what we do on the land can indeed impact what happens on the water.
Which is why their operation has been built from the ground up, with the environment in mind. They started no-tilling about 30 years ago.
We did that, and we noticed probably by year number 7, year number 8, we were extensively soil testing at the time, which was pretty unheard of. We noticed that we could cut back on the number of inputs and still grow the same crop.
Learning is also why Kinnard helped start Peninsula Pride Farms, a sustainability and water quality focused group of farmers. Learning from each other and experts like this recent field day about new ways to responsibly care for the land.
Let's see what's working for this guy, what's not working for this guy, and I think more importantly, what's not working, because we all learn as much from the things that don't work as we do from the things that do.
Back at the barn, a lot of learning went into this farm of the future, from ventilation to lighting controls, to the system that separates, cleans, and recycles the bedding sand.
We haven't purchased sand in about 7 years. It goes round and round and round.
A significant savings for both the environment and the bottom line. The farm is also recycling manure into a new partnership with DTE Energy. Soon, new digesters will be converting methane into compressed natural gas, which will then be trucked out and put into a nearby pipeline, rather than trying to create electricity on the farm and feed it into the grid.
There's a lot less moving parts, which allows you to spend a little more, a lot more actually, on the upfront, the digesters themselves, really up the design, really make them efficient.
Efficiency, whether it's the systems,
So we're scraping up in the barns.
the farms,
The design on this is simple enough that I think it's going to be highly repeatable by other farmers.
or the cows.
We look at this cow as this magnificent recycling machine. Ultimately, we're looking to feed the world, using our cows as the tool.
Kinnard Farms is building on its conservation legacy.
We didn't realize it was called sustainability. Our goal as a family has been to always leave the land in a condition better than it was in which we found it.
And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in, spend part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a happy new year.